Welcome everyone to the Village of Hashem. We call this the Village of Hashem because over here we're going to learn Be'ezras Hashem how to be more faithful, more dedicated, more passionate members in the Village of Hashem, in Hashem's kingdom, because that's what it's all about. We're going to Be'ezras Hashem be discussing the Sefer Mesilas Yesharim. The Mesilas Yesharim, Path of the Just, was written by the Ramchal, Reb Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, in the early 1700s, and it took the world by a storm, and it became the place and the sefer that really determined how a Jew should live his life as being the premier Eved Hashem and servant of Hashem. So over here we're going to discuss how to climb the ladder, which we're going to discuss at the end of today's shir. And that is the ladder of success in growing closer and closer to the Almighty. The Ramchal starts in the Sefer Mesilas Yesharim talking about, in the introduction, of how people become so locked in the day-to-day that they don't give pause and they don't give thought to what they're actually doing here. And because the nature of the subject of the Sefer, which is how to install and how to ingrain the Avodas Hashem and the proper attitudes in our relationship with Hashem, since those things are so obvious to everyone, no one can test these ideas. So because of that, they're often overlooked, because the things that are the most obvious don't get the attention that they deserve. So therefore, he chose to write a sefer that breaks down the system of how a person elevates himself and grows closer and closer to Hashem by working on himself, by the aspects of personal refinement, personal achievement, indeed, and personal excellence. And that is going to happen throughout the course of this sefer, and we're going to go along the journey along with the Ramchal in order to achieve spiritual excellence. He mentions over here that there, according to the pasuk in Dvarim Yud Beis, it says like this: Va'ata Yisrael, and now Jewish nation, Ma Hashem Elokecha Sholem Imach. What is Hashem your God asking from you? Ki im liras Hashem Elokecha, if not to fear Hashem your God, leleches b'chol drachav, to walk in all of His ways, ula'ahava also, to love Him, v'lavod es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha, and to serve Hashem with all of your heart and all of your soul, lishmor its mitzvos Hashem es chukosav, and to guard, observe all the mitzvos of Hashem and all of His statutes. So over here he mentions there are 5 aspects which are going to break down into the study of the Sefer, which encompasses everything. The first one being Yira, which means fear. Now, it doesn't mean I'm afraid of God. What it means is the Yiras HaRomamus, which is the fear of the exalted nature of God, that we should be fearful in front of Him. It's an awareness that God is in front of us at all time, and no less than if a person was standing in front of the most important person of the world, Kaviyachol. The second thing is Halicha B'drachav, that we should go in all of Hashem's ways, because Hashem is perfect, and therefore we have to emulate the perfection of Hashem. Just like Hashem is compassionate, we have to learn how to be compassionate as well. Ha'ahava, which is love of Hashem, that we should stick and we should etch in the heart of every single person the love for Hashem, to be passionate in order to do the service of Hashem, because the primary motivator should be that we want to give God satisfaction and nachas. And then shlimus halev, which is perfection of the heart, that we shouldn't have any ulterior motives mixed in, and we should be able to serve Hashem for the sake of God and for the sake of God alone. And finally, Shmiras Kol HaMitzvos is to be taken as it's understood, and that means to be precise in all of the performance of all the mitzvahs that we could do. No less than a person who is a professional athlete, or if he's a scientist, that every little moment, every single nanosecond makes a difference, every single minute measurement makes a difference. So when it comes to our mitzvahs, it should be no different. And then he assembles the ladder for us. After giving the general overview of those 5 areas, he assembles the ladder based on the Brisa in the Gemara in Avodah Zarah. And the ladder has the different rungs on it. And each rung is a different aspect of achievement, of spiritual perfection and refinement and excellence. And it starts like this. We're just going to translate the words, but it's not going to do justice until we break down every single midah, every single attribute, in order so that we could actually become and exemplify these midos that we're talking about. Number one, he says Torah, general Torah knowledge, brings the person to zihirus, which is carefulness. Zihirus zerizus, that brings the person to alacrity and quickness and motivation and enthusiasm. Zihirus zerizus brings a person towards nikias, which is cleanliness in all of our deeds. Nikias precious, which means to be separate from all the worldly things. Precious tahara brings us a person to purity, and purity brings a person to chasidus, which is doing above and beyond the letter of the law. And chasidus mivdele anava, which is anava is humility, and anava brings a person to yiraschet, to fear of sin, and fear of sin brings a person to kedusha, which is holiness, and eventually kedusha mivdele ruach hakodesh, and eventually even tchias hamesim, that once a person raises himself to the maximum capacity, Hashem shares with him divine inspiration, as well as the ability to control life itself and even resurrect the dead. And that is the purpose of the Sefer that we should launch in the place that we're in right now. Gather together all of our strengths, all of our resources, and to blast ourselves off to a great, great place, which is closer and closer to Hashem, so that we become so close to Hashem that Hashem shares those qualities with us. At the end of every shir, what I would like to do is share with you a practical strategy that we could practice in order so that we could actually integrate into our practical lives these lessons that we've learned. And I was thinking about over here, maybe the Ramchal says over here, we got to break the pattern of habit. We got to break that pattern because so much we're telling ourselves stories all the time, and therefore we're stuck inside of that. And so therefore, in order to do that, we need to interrupt the patterns in our life. So I was thinking as follows: to make room for Hashem in our life, set an alarm. Maybe once, maybe twice, 3 times a day at random times throughout the day. And then when that alarm sounds, no matter what you're doing, take time, take 20, 30 seconds and think about God. Think about Hashem created you and that you're grateful that Hashem put you here. Just do that, and it could take 30 seconds, and it could be so transformational in our lives. And that's a wonderful way to start off our week, and a wonderful way to do what we need to do in this world. Everyone should have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll see you next time in the Village of Hashem.